Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Månegarm, Edsvuren, out August 29th on Napalm Records. The album has 12 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's 11th full-length studio album. They are a Swedish Viking folk metal band. For an album with 12 songs and 51 minutes, they were able to create a very engaging and interesting journey from start to finish, because this album is really built like a saga. It's built as a journey that allows the listener to feel all the different ebbs and flows, all the different momentums that the record has to offer, song in and song out. There isn't a lot of repetition throughout this album. Perhaps some elements allow themselves to be a little bit more dominating, but overall, this is a very diverse, is a very versatile sounding record across all 12 songs, adding to that sense of journey, adding to that incredible path that the record puts forward. So a great design that really enhances all of the different attributes and elements of this record, and almost making the album feel slightly shorter than what it actually is. Once you get into the sound, that's where that main common denominator comes through, and that is definitely the folk influences of the band. This is an extremely folk sounding album through and through. I'll give you that some songs really lack a little bit of that folkiness in it, specifically in the sound, but songs where the folky aspects of the band are not as present and not as dominating in the sound, they reflect themselves a little bit differently by coming across more in the vocal performance. So overall, you're gonna find that every single song has that folk nature to it. It's undeniable, not always coming from the same element, not always coming from the same place, but it's always there one way or another, to different levels, to different degrees. This being perhaps the spinal cord, definitely the red line that connects all 12 songs together. Outside of that heavy folky influence that this album has, sonically the album shows its versatility by taking different approaches, different soundscapes, creating different atmospheres. You have songs that feel a lot more traditionally black metal focused and black metal driven, allowing the tracks to be more penetrating. I'm not going to go as far as to say that the tracks are a little bit more narrow, because on a record like this, with the folkiness that the record has, the songs never sound narrow. These songs always sound really big, really wide, with a huge canvas for the band to work on as far as their creativity is concerned. But from a versatility of sound, definitely there's a lot of black metal on this record. There's a lot of black and punk rock on this album that brings that aggression, that edge to the sound. There's also some songs that offer more of a stripped down aspect, really bringing it to the bare bones, to the folk core of what the band's sound is all about. Then there's some tracks that have a little bit more death metal in it, a little bit more melodic death metal in it. It's an album that has a lot of different perspectives, that has a lot of different sounds, a lot of different textures, and because of it, the overall soundscape of the album is very rich. Now, the differences of these songs and the uniquenesses of the songs do not create a sense of chaos within the record. The album is designed well enough for the listener to be able to adapt and adjust to all the different textures of sounds that are coming their way, song in and song out. That's why I said earlier that the design really creates a journey, really creates a path. That path is clear from the get-go, and the clarity around it is really what allows this album to have the sonic versatility that it has, with elements like the guitars being definitely one of the cornerstones outside of the folk influences and the folk instruments. The guitar sound on this album is excellent. I love what they did. I love the spectrum of sound that you get out of the guitars, from the acoustic to the really heavy, darkened, almost I was going to say gritty sound. This album has everything from one side to the other, and everything that exists in between. It's a very well written album from a guitar standpoint, with great guitar solos throughout this record, really bringing life, energy, and extra value to the way the songs are put together, painting or defining defining the picture of the tracks even better, adding to the overall sense of path, journey, and almost cinematic experience that this record offers. The guitar sound has so many different brush strokes in terms of how it hits these songs, and that allows that impact to be long lasting and very well deep into the record itself. Definitely one of the elements that stood out to me from start to finish as far as this album is concerned. The other element that really stands out on this record is the overall vocal performance. I thought the vocals were as versatile as the sound on the record is, and I think when you have an album built like this, delivered like this, you cannot have a one-size-fits-all approach as far as the vocals are concerned. You need to adapt to the song demands, you need to adapt to where you are within the storytelling aspect of the tracks, within the tracks, and then go with what feels better in order to not just tell the story, but really create a vivid image of what the story is all about. And I felt like the vocals on this album, more often than not, regardless if it's more cleans, regardless if it's a little bit harsher, regardless if it's the female vocals versus the male vocals, every single time I've always felt like the vocals on this record are really there to tell a story. This album is built like a storyteller style record from a vocal standpoint. You're mesmerized by it because the vocals bring you into the track. There's a little bit of a warm embrace behind them, and then you're just you're taken back by how well they define the momentums of the songs and how well they define the story that they're putting together with words. Really interesting record from that standpoint, as the whole album is. The versatility is the key word. This is a super rich record, versatile across all of its parameters, and that makes this a super strong and fun album to listen to. This is a very well-rounded record by Månegarm. Not an album that lives off of the individuality of the songs as much as it lives off of what the overall collective is here to offer. Having said that, I'm here to tell you now my favorite 3 tracks on the album, and I picked 3 songs that all offer 3 different soundscapes, 3 different atmospheres, starting off with Edsvuren. This is a very blackened punk rock vibe. This really feels almost like a song straight out of Midnight. It just has that drive. It's very speed metal, but with a very punk rock edge to it, and then with some black metal elements in the mixture, allowing the song to be driven, but also to be catchy. The vocals intensify and really put a spotlight on the overall intensity and vibe of the song. And they also help give some width to the track, because you don't want a song that is this fast, this dark, to feel very narrow and constricted, specifically because of the folky background of the whole album. So adding vocals that give size to the track, it's definitely a winning formula, and I felt like this song did it really well. The track also reaches the middle point where there's this more melodic bridge, and that melodic bridge works really well because it then shotguns you into this incredible guitar sound that really dominates the track, moving you into this solo that just takes you all the way to the edge of the song, and it's just an incredible solo section. This track, for a song that feels so fast, that feels almost like a blackened punk rock song, to have a solo like that, extending the track, making the song feel more complete, taking the song into a completely different direction in that second half of the track, is really something interesting. You never imagine the song is going to go down this path the way it starts. Then you have a track like Till Gudars Fall, an acoustic song all the way through, just really depending on the folkiness of the instruments, the folkiness of the acoustic guitar itself, the warmth that it offers, and an incredible vocal performance. It's a very jovial track. There's a little bit of, due to the nature of the sound and how stripped down the song is, there is a much better way for this song, or this song breathes in a much better way. It's a very open track. It feels very light. There's really no heaviness to this song whatsoever. So it's a track that just really hits heavy, not because of how it sounds, not because of how the sound itself comes across, or how the vocal performance feels, because there's no harsh vocals on this track. This is a song that it's more about delivering an experience and creating an atmosphere and creating a vibe. And the stripped down guitars, the acoustic elements, the folk elements, and then a very warm delivery vocal wise really helps cement that experience, that feel, that atmosphere. Last but definitely not least, Likagokens Fest. This is a much heavier, a much darker song than the two previous tracks that I mentioned. This track is about volume, is about size, but definitely also about the overall darkness that it has. The heavier the song gets, the darker it sounds. The interesting aspect for me about this track specifically is that it has a great underlying melody. That underlying melody, it's kind of like the light in the fog. You're not able to see too far ahead, but you're able to see at least where you're stepping into with every step that you take. The melody that this song has kind of works in that way, allowing you to see a little bit ahead of yourself, not too much, but a little bit ahead of yourself, in that overall heaviness and darkness that the track has all around. It has a very Viking vibe, and a lot of that Viking vibe really comes from that underlying melody without a shadow of a doubt. That melody hits you in two different ways. It hits you because it's great from a melodic standpoint, creating an underlying current to the way the song is constructed. And then the second aspect of it, the melody itself feels folky, it feels Viking. So it's a great way to add that element of folkiness into a song that otherwise doesn't have it at all. It doesn't have it vocally, and it doesn't have it musically. So it's a very compact, very heavy sounding track, very dark sounding track as well, with the underlying melody that really connects the track well, that really creates an underground passage for you to be able to navigate through the song a lot better. This is it, Månegarm with Edsvuren, out once again August 29th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.